Good evening, everybody. My name's remain Dele Farotimi, and welcome to the third part of the series, Nigeria, the Path to Freedom. In the first part, we touched on where we were, where we need to be going, how we got to where we are currently. And tonight, my key intention really is to talk to us about exactly what does the 2023 electoral cycle have to offer Nigerians. In the last, since the beginning of the year, essentially, since the calendar and the deliberate agenda of the system has successfully driven the argument towards a succession, especially given the fatigue with the incumbents, not just Buhari, incumbents generally, the general disillusionment of Nigerians with the system. So it seems like everything everyone wants to talk about these days is essentially about elections. And then the like of us who have continually argued that our problems are not going to be resolved by personnel changes, we're also forced to confront those who believe that we might somehow elect some messiah who will then solve all of our problems by sheer force of his own goodwill and vision. I've had a few of those arguments in recent times. So when you, like me, cannot stop thinking about the future, and you are now confronted with the short-termism of the electoral cycle, which delivers perennially only on personnel changes. What tends to happen is that the clash between the ideals that we preach and the reality of the electoral cycle, which the system ensures to calibrate the minds of Nigerians so that you're all focused on, oh, maybe if the Jaga Bandits wins, or maybe if it's Oshiba Joe, or maybe if there has been a very interesting parade of very nasty characters queuing up to become the president of Nigeria. And the Nigerian people have engaged with each and every one of these persons as though we were dealing with a rational process by which we might then choose the person to determine the destiny of this potentially great nation. Potentially, I said. So here we are, about a year away from the next general election. And it is time to actually begin to critically examine what are the choices that are truly before us. Now, let me make clear to us that I am not dealing with easy choices here. I did not vote in 2015. It was clear to me that nothing good was going to come out of it, whether it was Buhari, well, maybe now when you are talking about lesser evils, but that's another story for another day. Suffice to say that I did not vote in 2015. In 2019, there was nothing to vote for. I'm sorry to say that's an indictment as much on me as it is with the system. So I didn't vote again in 2019. But each time, the first time when I refused to vote, which was in 2015, I wore it like a badge of honor, like I had done something fantastic, like I was somehow excluded from the guilt that tainted every Nigerian, as far as I was concerned, who had to participate in the mockery that produced the current disaster we're dealing with. But it's no longer a badge of honor. If anything, it has become a badge of guilt, because I feel somehow tainted that one way or the other, I could have exercised a right. That conundrum has not completely lifted. But it has forced me to take a second look at the Nigerian situation, because now I cannot find refuge in abstaining from voting. Now, if I'm not going to find refuge in abstaining from voting, I then have to decide of what use, one, is my vote. Two, who do I vote for? Is beyond the ritual of picking up a ballot and thumb printing, exactly what would I be voting for? So these are the questions that have agitated my mind as we have entered this season, and as I have contemplated the putrefied system that is seeking to focus our attention on personnel changes whilst it itself remains preserved. As I told a friend earlier today, our situation when we talk about whether we vote for Party A, Party B, Party C, or D, is that we are dealing with the fruits, making a choice between the fruits which we don't like. None of these fruits are loved by us, but we continually ignore the tree that produces the fruit that we do not like. What do I mean? It is obvious, or should be obvious to any rational being, that the key problem with the Nigerian state is to be found in our governance structures and systems. It is also clear, or should be clear by now, that across the length and breadth of Nigeria, wherever you turn in Nigeria, the general consensus amongst all Nigerians is that something needs to change. But that change continually presents itself in the easiest form, and that has always been about personnel changes. And the system would prefer that that should be the case again this time around. But I beg to differ. I beg to differ. I am of the opinion that there is a different path, and that is exactly what I was referring to when I spoke specifically about changing the game. How do you change the game within the context of the 2023 electoral cycle? Let me explain. It is already clear, or should be clear, that only a return to a federal system, a federation, a parliamentary system, something along the 1963 Constitution, is likely to save the Nigerian state from the fate that is staring it in the face. But this is not exactly a palatable position for those who have benefited from the state hijack of 1966 and the unilateral restructuring of Nigeria from a 4-region structure into a 36 structure of no clear pedigree, if I may say that. So, if we must become involved in the 2023 election, and I believe we should, because there are only 2 games in town right now. If you're going to change the system, you're either going to change the system by carrying arms, or if you're not going to bear arms, you look at what is available to play with. We have the electoral system, imperfect. If it was any use, I wouldn't have abstained from voting in 2015 and in 2019. But I abstained, and it cost me what? The same price that you are all paying, stupid leaders. Oh, sorry, why did I say that? Stupid rulers. Now, ruiners. If that is not to repeat itself, the only thing I believe that we should do at this point, first thing first, let us go and register to vote. Yeah, I know that might sound crazy to those of you who might think but the system is rigged. Yes, it is rigged. But let me show you something. Only a minority have elected the president, the governors, the senators. In perfect system, I agree. Don't get me wrong. I'm not suggesting that we'll vote and then we'll find El Dorado. No. That's not what I'm suggesting. But I am of the firm opinion that if, one, we gain the right, since the system has to pretend that we're a democracy, it means that it still has to offer you a voter's card because it's pretending that we're a democracy. Now, here is the interesting thing about that democracy. They buy and sell votes in that democracy, which should tell you that the vote has a value. If it had no value, nobody is going to buy. They're buying because it has a value. But they will prefer that you, who owns the vote, devalue the vote, just like I devalued it by refusing to vote. What if we flip the game? What if we registered to vote overwhelmingly? What if for once, instead of playing football on election day, instead of using the election day to sleep, catch up on our sleep, visit our neighbors, instead of doing that, what if we did get up massively? I'll show you something. I believe the last election the last two elections, I've seen sub 33 million votes in the presidency. In some states, less than 500,000 votes have decided the governorship elections. The people have become so disconnected from the electoral process that we have actually abandoned the process to the miscreants who are ruining Nigeria and about whom we constantly bellyache. So we bellyache, but we abandon the process to the same thieves that we complain about. If we find a way to double the electoral roll, if enough of us will turn up on election day who will not sell our votes, who will vote for principles, and who will stand and ensure that their votes are counted. And if the political platforms behind which we stand would lead with ideas behind which they would have mobilized the people. If you're saying that Nigeria should change, you see, this is part of what we are saying. NEPA has decided that my beautiful face should be hidden from you. I have no control over that. But we will see what happens in a few. Maybe they'll bring back power shortly. But suffice to say that if enough of us would get involved with the process, if we will refuse to let the system disenchant us to the point where we become disconnected and then the worst of us constantly lead us astray, or just plain destroy the country with pure, irrational, crazy, unthinking looting. What if we will not come on the street to protest? I don't usually support street protests. I've been heard severally speaking against it because of the madmen who rule us and the violent police who does the bidding of our rulers. But what if, for once, we all decided that we want to gain our citizenship? Because this is crucial. The Nigerian is not a citizen. That's just a fact. Let's stop fooling ourselves. However, because the slave trading partners of our rulers have to play to their local audience, they speak about the fact that they would only deal with democracies in Africa, even though you and I know that is not the truth. However, because they need to have this illusion of democracy sold to their own people back home, our rulers are obliged to have this ritual every 4 years where they pretend that they allow us to elect them. What stops us from changing the game? What if we register to vote en masse unlike we've never done? What if we turned out to vote like we never have? You can help me say amen to NEPA there. Amen. What if we did that? What if we just turned up and voted ideas? Don't you think this game might just change? I'll give you a case in point. Tony Stephen Mogalu is out there, is running. It's not unlikely that Dele might be running. I'm not too sure. He hasn't discussed that with me. A few young men and women have indicated an interest in the presidency in some other positions. What if we prepared our agenda for change, registered to vote en masse, and then demand that whoever is interested in our votes has to adopt the change that we seek? Remember that change 2015 was Buhari's mantra, but the only change has been for the worse. Every other person that is coming to tell us about 2023 would also be promising change, because it's obvious we need to get away from where we are. But this change that they will be promising, what is the character of that change? That was a critical question that remained unasked in 2015. What if we, with the voters' card, who have asserted and grabbed some measure of citizenship for ourselves by having one anyway in the first place, what if we drafted our own demand of those who might want our votes? It simply means that what we would have gone on the street to demand, we can demand through the ballot. And in demanding it through the ballot, you connect the people who had earlier been disconnected. You connect them to the ballot. In connecting them to the ballot, you connect them to change. In connecting them to change, you connect them for the street when the system might attempt to steal their vote. Right now, when you ask people to protest, the first question they ask you is, what am I protesting? And what would change at the end of that process? They point at all the several times that several people have attempted to change Nigerian situation by protest. They point to the killings at Lekki Toll Gate, the massacre. They point to that, and how quickly the society itself has moved on. And these are valid points to be raised. But has anybody tried before now, outside of 1993, when Abiola sold the idea of change via the ballot, has anyone tried to use the ballot as a point of galvanization for the street? Have we, the electorate, been sufficiently clear and strident about the change that we desire and that we wish to see? That, I think, is how we can change the game in 2023. That is how I think we can actually use the electoral system to get what it is that we really want. If you do not buy a ticket, you can't win the lottery. However imperfect the system is, and I assure you it is highly, highly iniquitous, rigged, and very unfair. But it's the only game in town. It is the only game in town. The Nigerian state is a well-practiced killing machine. He has no problem whatsoever dealing with those at times terrorists, and those are those demanding the self-determination rights, in most cases, separatist rights. They get killed. The people themselves, they turn their backs. But you can connect the people to this. Everything the Nigerians have sought, there is no reason why we cannot reduce it to an electoral platform. If we effectively mobilize ourselves, even as electorate, making clear to the Nigerian rulers and the political class and any would-be messiah or any change agent that this is the minimum irreducible by which we would wish to be governed. Who says we can't be the ones to take the lead? Waiting for the rulers of Nigeria and the political class has not produced any tangible result or any positive one for that matter. It is time to change this game. It is time to use the electoral cycle as best as we can to gain what it is that we are seeking. Go out, register to vote. There is the opportunity to do that. I believe you can even do it online. Even if you are a Luddite like me, you must have somebody around who understands these new gizmos. Since they've made it possible for you to register to vote. Not because they love you, but like I said, they have to pretend we're a democracy. It cannot be that up and down the length and breadth of Nigeria, it is beyond our capacity to organize ourselves, articulating exactly what it is that we seek. If you are in the southeast and your demand is clear, it is central on self-determination, why is it impossible to ensure that the political class in the southeast understands clearly that that is the mandate they have to take from the people? If the southwest seeks restructuring of Nigeria, why is it impossible for those of us who believe that that is the way to go out there and mobilize the people behind that idea? There are only two ways to change this country. You're either going to carry guns or you would have to use your ballot paper. Your ballot paper is about your ideas, your brains. It's God-given. Let's use it. It's not going to be an easy slog. Far from it. There will be resistance. We'll be derided. It would even seem stupid and quixotic. But each time they tell you that what do you think you're doing? Why not ask them? What's the alternative? Are we to fold our hands on our chest and wait until Nigeria dissolves into unending war? Or does anybody really believe that where we are is sustainable beyond the immediate, which is itself not particularly palatable? I believe that the centrality of the 1993 Constitution to the mess that we are in should be more than clear to all of us. And anyone who is seeking change in Nigeria should find the courage. And I challenge the political class, the new ones. I'm not talking about the irredeemable thieves. I'm speaking to the Showores of this world, the Mogalus of this world, the carpenters of this world, all those who have indicated an interest in leadership. Be honest enough to admit to yourselves that the foundational problem of Nigeria is the Constitution. Present your alternative visions to us. We will register to vote. I have done mine. Have you registered to vote? If you have not done so, go and do so. I have no gun for you. I have only my mouth, and I'm using it to tell you, go and register to vote. It's the only game in town. God bless you. Thanks for joining me again. I believe we'll see you again on Saturday, which is the last leg of this series, which is where I talked about how can we use what we have to get what we want. might sound pretty much like the one I just treated, but there is a slight tweak. I have talked generally just now about objectives. I have not talked strategy. Strategy is for Saturday morning. How can we use what we have to get what we want? See you on Saturday morning for 10 o'clock. And thank you very much for your time. God bless you. Good night.